Well, I can't say enough about your book. And one of the things I really loved about it was how you reframe misbehavior
Yeah.
as stress behavior. And that when we look through the lens of them being overloaded with stress, we can help them get to calm. So can you sort of give us the 10,000 foot view on this?
Okay, Debbie, I thought it was interesting you started with that question. For me, that is the most important one. Misbehavior, it means that the child could have acted differently, that the child chose to act in such and such a way, and maybe they did it to see if they could get away with it, or they're testing limits, or, kids are kids. But that's very different from stress behavior. In the case of that, the child is not choosing how they're acting. These are behaviors that are caused, and they're caused by systems deep inside the brain. And what we do know now is that the greater a child's stress load, the more kindled, the more easily triggered these deep limbic, they're called limbic behaviors are. So when I looked at your question, I thought there's a couple of reasons why you've asked it, and they're really important for anyone who has a bright and quirky kid. Mm-hmm. And as I was saying to you before we started, I speak from very personal experience here because I have two of them, and I saw this happening. When a child is in what we call red brain, and red brain is the limbic system, and it's a much more ancient brain than the blue brain, the thinking brain, the learning brain. When they're in red brain, that's when you get these sorts of outbursts, or I like the example you gave of hiding under the table. That's actually a brown brain behavior if you're interested.
A what?
It's a brown brain behavior. So there are, since you asked me, let me clarify this. So we talk about blue brain, red brain, brown brain. And these are ideas that go back to an American neuroscientist called Paul MacLean. And the idea here is the brown brain is a very ancient brain. It's the reptilian brain. And it got preserved in us. It's about 300 million years old. And nature kept it because it had very basic survival mechanisms like fight or flight, which are, when a child is pushed to the limit, that's really the only recourse left to them. So they can go into fight, flight, or freeze. But there is, in fact, another brown brain behavior called terminal burrowing. And when a child hides under the desk, when a child locks themselves in the closet, things like that, these are actually very ancient behaviors, mechanisms for when fight or flight or freeze haven't protected them. Now, the reason it's important is the following. If you, as an adult, confuse stress behavior and misbehavior, you treat the stress behavior, so let's say it's the kid who's had an outburst, and you treat it as if it was a willful behavior, deliberate, intentional, that he could act differently if he chose, but he's not choosing. It's a stress behavior. But if you treat it like that, so you punish, you yell, you can send him into brown brain. And what we see happening with Brighton, can I use the term 2E?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so what we see with 2E kids is they are consistently, their behaviors consistently misconstrued by people that don't know the child, for example, educators. And they yell at the child, they punish the child for what are stress behaviors and send that child into brown brain. So that's why you started with this, because one of as I read through your materials, your big point is that we need everybody to understand, not just mom and dad, because mom and dad get this. We need everybody on the same page so that they don't harm our kids, so that they don't cause our kids to close down, shut down. so they don't lead them, not just that they don't develop their incredible gifts that you've talked about, but even worse, that they become entrenched in a pattern I would like to talk about when we get a chance, of maladaptive self-regulation.
Heather, your assistant, sent us a wonderful article on your work. What's the quick thing you would sort of tell a teacher about this?
We trust me, okay, we get asked this all the time, and I would say this is the fourth time I've been asked it. What's today? In the last
Thursday.
Okay, no, seriously, we do get asked it all the time. So it's a problem, because what we really want to see happen is that teachers read the book, that principals read the book, everybody has to read it. What we suggest to parents is, first of all, you get a teacher to ask two questions. Why and why now?
Yes.
The reason we want them to do that is because we want to plant in them the suggestion there's something going on here that they don't understand, but it's deeper than that. Just asking why gets them to pause. And what we find is that if we can get them past their automatic reaction, just to insert a pause where they can start to think, then they start to get curious.